First it was cafes. Then it was streets that smell like urine, but today the city of Paris has made something else famous. And that thing is the 15-minute city. If you're an urban planning nerd, you've probably heard of this notion, but it's really been popularized the last couple of years by Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, who has really been transforming that city into a more bikeable, walkable, friendly place. And in doing so, she's popularized this notion of the 15-minute city, which basically means anything you should need in your daily life should be within a 15-minute walk or bike ride of your home. Which sounds like a great notion, but I've often been wondering lately what this actually looks like in real life, so today we're gonna see. So in this video, I'm going to try 3 different types of neighborhoods and see what the 15-minute city actually looks like. There's lots of different interpretations of the 15-minute city, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to use one that was kind of defined by Andrews Dewani and Robert Steutenville like this. Within a 5-minute walk, you should be able to meet your daily needs, and for that, I'm going to use a convenience store. For within a 15-minute walk, which is kind of the maximum that a person will walk, they say things like schools, pharmacies, and that kind of thing should be within that. For this, I'm going to use a school. And for the 15-minute bike, which is kind of the outer limits of the 15-minute city, they say things like medical facilities, education and cultural facilities should be within there. So for this video, I'm going to use a medical facility, a hospital. What I'm going to do is find a point in 3 different types of neighborhoods and see if I can achieve all of these things within the given time limit to really test the 15-minute city. And another point to make is they also say that it's not just the proximity of these things, but it's the quality of the walk or the bike ride. So that's going to be something I'll consider as well. So let's go. The first type of neighborhood we're going to try is a real urban neighborhood. So I'm here in downtown Vancouver, and I've picked a random spot. I'm here in Robson Square, and the first test is there a convenience store within 5 minutes of this place? Let's go see. Okay, well that took about 4.5 minutes to get to this 7-Eleven. Not bad. It's pretty easy actually, which I guess is the point of the 15-minute city. Okay, we're gonna go back to the starting point for test number 2 in this urban neighborhood, and that is to find a school within a 15-minute walk. Okay, we made it to an elementary school, and it was only about a 9-minute walk, so well within the 15-minute city. All right, next is the bike ride to a medical facility within 15 minutes. We'll go back to the starting point and try that. Okay, I arrived at a hospital, and that was so easy, like less than 5 minutes on my bike. So 3 successes here in urban Vancouver. As far as the quality of the rides go, I'd say I felt safe and protected in all of them, but it is pretty urban here. It's loud, as you can tell. I am at a hospital. It's loud, it's urban, there's a ton of cars in this city, so I felt safe, but maybe not the most pleasant rides in the world, but pretty good. I'm very impressed. Off to the next type of neighborhood to try again. Okay, this is a much different kind of neighborhood. This is Mount Pleasant in Vancouver. We're outside of the downtown core. This has much more mixed housing, different types of uses, not as dense, so it'll be interesting to see if the 15-minute city still applies. All right, I found a convenience store at a gas station, but it actually took me more like 6.5 minutes, so we didn't quite make the 5-minute city barrier, which is a little ironic because this is a gentrifying neighborhood that has everything. And I did add a little time because I stopped at a place called the Corner Store because I thought it was a corner store, but it actually sold expensive shoes. So gentrification is what it does, I guess. All right, let's move on to the next one. We made it to the school in like 14 minutes and 40 seconds, just under the wire, but we made it, less than 15-minute walk. Okay, last test in this neighborhood is a medical facility within a 15-minute bike ride. Let's see if we can do it. Wow, that was easy. 12 minutes, no problem. So out of the three, I'm going to say all of them worked. That first one was a little bit longer than 5 minutes, but my bad navigation may account for some of that. So I'm going to say this style of neighborhood also is classified as a 15-minute city. And I got to say, as far as the quality of the transportation was concerned, much nicer here than in the first one. This neighborhood is full of traffic calm streets and bike boulevards, and it's just calmer and quieter and greener and much nicer all around. Okay, for the next one, we're gonna head out to the suburbs and see how that goes. Okay, so for the next phase, we are here in a suburban community. We're actually in a different city than the last shot. I was in Vancouver, now I'm back in my city of Calgary, which is why it's a little browner here. We're just a little farther behind on our spring. Anyway, this is a community called Walden, and I chose this suburban community for a couple of reasons. One is that it's called Walden, which to me, naming a suburban land development after the pond that inspired Henry David Thoreau's conservation philosophy is just awesome. It's just like peak marketing hubris by suburban land developers, so I kind of love it that way. And secondly, because it's a newer suburb, and I often hear from suburban land developers that the new suburbs that are being built these days are much better than they were 20 years ago in terms of walkability and bikeability and amenities. So I thought, hey, let's give the new suburbs a try. So the first thing we're going to do is see if there's a convenience store within a 5-minute walk of this randomly chosen location in the middle of Walden, and let's go. So there you go, 6 minutes to the 7-Eleven from where I was before, so not bad. Not under the 5-minute threshold, but pretty close. Let's do the next one, which is a 15-minute walk to a school. Okay, so I made it to the school and it took over 20 minutes, so definitely not within the 15-minute city threshold. And interestingly, as I was walking over here, I Googled it, and the school is actually in a neighboring community. So if you actually live in Walden, where I started walking, your kids can't go here because the school, I assume, is full. And so the designated school for kids in that community is like 20 kilometers away. So they have to be bused that far too. So that's an interesting twist on the 15-minute city. Okay, let's move on. Okay, next stop is a medical center within a 15-minute bike ride of this location. Let's go. Okay, well that was easy. There was a medical center right here about 6 minutes away from where I was on my bike, so really easy. I mean, it's closed today because it's a weekend, and if you really needed medical care, you'd have a 30-minute ride to the hospital. But, you know, the rules were if it's within a 15-minute ride, it qualifies, so this definitely qualifies. And in fact, there's quite a bit around here. You know, I just bought a taco over there too, so there is a few things. So in the 15-minute city scale that we're using today, Walden scored a 1 out of 3. Okay, that brings us to the end of our 15-minute neighborhood city test, whatever you want to call it. And what'd you think? Were you surprised? Well, I can't say I was that surprised. I don't think anyone really expected this suburban neighborhood to score very highly on a scale like this. But I did learn something. I mean, the different makeups of these three neighborhoods was really interesting to experience, and I hope you got a sense of that as well. And there are elements of 15-minute cities in each of these neighborhoods. Even in the suburban one like this, you know, it's nice to ride in here, it's safe, it's quiet, there are a number of amenities nearby. But I think there's a bigger issue here around the idea of a 15-minute city. It's not just 3 points in a neighborhood with 3 amenities. It's the bigger picture, and I think that's where communities like this really suffer on this 15-minute scale. If you start talking about things like cultural centers or museums or even like employment centers, they just don't exist in these suburban neighborhoods. You really have to get out, you know, and it's from here, it's like a 20-kilometer trip downtown to where all that stuff exists. So it's really tough to live in a neighborhood like this without a car. These suburban communities are getting better, so you can live within them much more sustainably or car-free or car-light, but really tough still, I think, to live completely car-free. It's tough. And also out here, transit is not great in my city. So every city is different. This is really interesting. I'd love to hear what you think about your city and if it might qualify, or your neighborhood, if it might qualify as a 15-minute city. So leave some comments down below, and maybe let's think of this as the start of a conversation rather than the end of it. Anyway, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.